Hello and welcome to another edition of BuzzFeed Unsolved Postmortem, a show where we answer your most pressing questions about the most recent episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved, which was the Farnsworth House Inn. All the questions we're answering today came from you guys via our BuzzFeed Unsolved Facebook page, our BuzzFeed Unsolved Instagram page, as well as directly on the video on Bun.
On Bun.
Couldn't get it timed up there.
You're over there, I'm over here.
That's right.
It feels like a flashback to 2020 over
I know.
here. Freaky.
Do we talk about Halloween? I guess not, because that's old news.
No, we don't need to talk about Halloween. We're here to talk about the Farnsworth Inn. And honestly, a good episode for Halloween because we played Dress Up.
That is true. Also, we have some fan Halloween costumes that we're going to be reviewing at the end of this episode. Stay tuned for that.
That's true.
I guess this is a little behind the scenes. We actually shot this episode last.
Second to last.
Yeah, so we shot 5 of the 6 episodes this season in one chunk, which is why there are certain scenes where Shane or myself might look deceased.
Yeah, we were very, very tired. We have never, I don't know that we've ever shot 5 supernatural episodes in one trip. I don't think we have. Have we
We've
done 5?
one mega trip before, but because that trip was like, it was several episodes, but they were all 3 of which were like in the same location. So never like 5 in 5 different locations. That was a good bonding experience.
I tend to walk away, and this is true of almost every episode, and this is largely because, you know, I don't believe in ghosts, and I'm here on these ghost hunts where I'm just like, well, what else can I do here? It's me just making a bunch of dumb jokes and being an asshole, and then when we're done shooting the episode, I always think, I don't know if that one was very good. We shot a scene that I don't think is in the episode of us walking away from the inn as like an outro. It was like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. It was raining. I had to get on a flight to go to Chicago at 6 a.m. like 3 hours later. And we were walking away while the cameras were rolling and you were like, well, big guy, we did it. And I was like, yeah. And you were like, what do you think of that one? And I was like, I don't know, man. I can't do it.
Dude, I think I said like a full sentence to you. I could see in your eyes that you did not even comprehend what I was saying, and you just went, I can't do it.
Those costumes, very fun. When we tried them on, we were like, this is incredible. I love these. And they were also sweltering, and my shoes had large chunks of metal in them. So they were extremely hot, and my feet were in pain.
As cool as the costumes were, I knew once I put it on at the costume store that we were in for one. I knew that something sinister lay ahead.
To that effect, let's a big shout out to the post team here for turning that episode out. What I really thought was like a real stinker for the season ended up being a romp.
It was a tough edit. It turned out great. So let's jump into these questions. Let's go to YouTube from Selena. #postmortem. Was Shane actually getting creeped out when Ryan froze and was not responding with his back to him? Best part, lol.
You know, it was a creepy, it did remind me of Blair Witch.
Very Blair Witch in the corner vibes, except, you know, with most of the focus being on my ass.
This was solely a necessity of the costuming, that it didn't have like a belt and you had to hold your pants closed with safety pins.
That's true, yes.
But I like that people assumed that was because of your dump truck
No, that
ass.
was because, I just, the pants simply couldn't contain the cakes. They were fashioned in a way that they were made in a similar way to how they would have been back then. Either way, no real fastener at all in the back. And of course, that's probably not supposed to see the light of day, but of course, they didn't think that we were going to be showing our asses to camera.
Ryan, I remember when you were leaving notes on the edit, you were like, we have to cut this, right? We have to cut. Because you were like, the way I sit down on the bed is too sensual.
It's very, very overly sensual for no apparent reason.
The way you casually swipe your jacket up.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, the reason why I did that too was because I was scared the pins, the safety pins were gonna snap behind me. So I think the note I left was like, you know, the vanity in me would like to not put this in the episode because it is just far too much. However, I recognize that this is too funny for the internet not to see this. So I'll fall on the sword here, and I'll show my safety pinned ass for the lols. because that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah. A hero.
A hero.
You say it yourself all the time, but I'll say it for you
I mean,
this time. A hero.
It's good to finally say it out loud and out of the shadows.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next question.
This is from Instagram, from Felix Wetzel. For the
Ooh,
postmortem, how much did Katie hate the baby bit?
She despises when grown adults do little baby voices. She just can't stand it. It's particularly grating to her eardrums. And we know this. And of course, we do it all the time because we think it's funny.
To be fair, though, we do it a lot because we think it's funny to annoy her. I think in this case, it was simply yet another tool of our unorthodox methods. It really had nothing to do with her. Sure, she was in the room. She didn't like it one bit.
No, she did not.
And when the edit came through, she said, I know you guys can't put this in the episode. I know you want it in there to annoy me. And from the bottom of my heart, that was not why I wanted it in the episode.
No, I think it just works, honestly.
It works.
Also, in the moment,
and look, it got a lot of traction. It got a lot of chatter.
It didn't really plan that either. We just, that was my favorite part about that, was that we just both mind melded into, we should probably cry like babies right now. I saw a lot of people say that they ADR'd my voice.
They thought they put a baby over just actual baby audio.
Yeah, we took a clip of an actual baby. I think this is maybe what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Dubbed it over my voice.
Real baby audio, RBA. You got an RBA.
No, that's all
RB,
me.
Ryan Bergara, real baby.
I mean, I have been known to go by that nickname in some circles.
Just to prove that, can you fire off some very convincing
I certainly
baby
can, but
noise
they're just
right
gonna assume that I'm doing the same thing here, that I'm dubbing it in the postmortem.
Well, just give it
one
shot. I just want to hear.
So I almost feel like I'm closing up my throat with my tongue.
It's the back of the throat, right?
And that produces this weird kind of quality. Here, I'll show you. It's.
Okay.
And it really does sound a lot like a baby. There you have it.
Next question. Yeah, really good.
This comes from Watching the Watcher for #postmortem. Are the rooms in this house as tiny as they look? Are these smaller spaces difficult to film with the crew? They are really tiny, to be honest. But we don't have an enormous crew. I mean, it's really just the two of us, Mark on camera, who's also filming this postmortem, or at least he's filming the Shane portion of this postmortem. He's not here in two places at the same time. That would be fucking cool. Like if he was like Nightcrawler. Oh wait, I think Nightcrawler needs
like Dr.
Dr. Manhattan would be more apt. Then we have TJ on sound and also serving as AD. Then we have Katie, our director/producer, and then Lizzie, our, I would say, line producer.
Not everyone's always in the room. Sometimes if people are able to hang back, they can maybe step outside a room. Generally, the rooms weren't all super tiny, but the hallways in that place were extremely tight.
Yeah, we've gotten pretty good at, only, TJ and Mark being in the rooms with us. However, I will say the doorways in that house were tiny. We actually cut me hitting my head on the on the doorways out. I wanted to cut that out because I thought it was funnier to only have you have your head hit the doorways.
Well, part of the reason that was happening too, none of that was like, I wasn't doing that as a bit, but I was wearing that hat, which was very tall and it was very hard. So it didn't have like any give. It wouldn't like gently, it was like a hard hat. It would just like donk my head.
I think people were just smaller back then, honestly. That's probably what it is.
Possible.
Anyways, let's move to the next question here.
Oh, here's one from YouTube, Shaheen Renu, #postmortem. Do you think that ghosts just tend to enjoy your company and so just watch you two try to investigate instead of actually trying to make contact? Love you guys. Keep doing the great work.
Looks like you forgot some hashtags there, man.
#BuzzFeed Unsolved, #Bulgaris, #Shaniacs.
Gotta finish their question.
They're just covering all the bases. #ghost hunting, #internet, #video, #question.
#breathing. I will say that, no, I don't think they tend to enjoy our company. In fact, I don't think most paranormal entities that we run into enjoy our company. Haunted houses are not theme park attractions that are just gonna be alive when you go there. Oftentimes, they're not, because it's like a living thing, in my opinion, so.
It's like the opposite of a theme park. It's like if Disneyland were like ghost hunting, you would pay money and go there and stand there, nothing would happen. You could do this 100 times in a row. Nothing would happen. And you'd be like, seems like Disneyland doesn't exist, you know?
So that's a realistic portrayal of the ghost biz. Anyways, let's move on to another one here. Hashtag postmortem. When you're laying in bed waiting to be tucked in, did you consider that the ghost couldn't tuck you in because you're not under the covers?
I thought maybe the ghost would sort of take its sheet off and put it over us.
Now, that's a good point. You know, something to think about. You can't really get tucked in if there's nothing to tuck you into. Also, we didn't really want to get into that bed because those outfits weren't like super clean. I felt like they got pretty gross and sweaty.
And the thought of us making baby crying noises while having like a blanket up to our chins, I
like it a little bit more.
That's crossing.
I kind of wish we would have done that. That would have been really full sending it. Let's move to a different question here. This is from Nikoko Rama for postmortem. Do you think the ghost that said November 23rd could have been from the Battle of Chattanooga? That's the day it started. Hashtag postmortem. It's funny that you would mention this because there was an enormous bit that got cut from the episode. And this happens from time to time. So when we review evidence, we have a couple people looking at it to make sure that it's actually not something else. And there was a spirit box response. I asked, do you think you lost the war? And then the response was,
probably.
Our train left. At least that's what I thought. And then I said, what do you want to talk about after that? Later in post was looking up what Our Train Left and November 23rd could have in common, and it turns out, Battle of Chattanooga starts on November 23rd. That was one of the major railway junctions, so that was a very strategic position to hold. So Our Train Left, they lost that battle. So I thought like, oh, that's a pretty cool connection. So we shot this whole thing of like me revealing this to Shane in like the evidence booth, and then we had like an argument about it. And then we cut that together, put it in the episode. This was about a week and a half before the episode went up. And I was reviewing the evidence again just to make sure. I concluded that it looked like I was saying R, something with a T, and then that kind of mixed together with the spirit box at the same time to make it sound like a very clear Our Train Left. And I, in my opinion, think it was mostly the mixture of the two of us. So I cut it from the episode because it wasn't actual evidence.
Well, that's very respectable.
Which sucks because the Our Train Left evidence review portion that we shot was really funny. Shane had this great bit where he says,
But now the ghost wants to talk about history with us.
Well,
the 23rd, the Battle of Chattanooga. Are you aware of that one?
Yeah, I mean,
open your textbooks to page 142.
We had to cut that whole bit. That's unfortunate. But I'm glad that somebody looked into what November 23rd could possibly be. The coolest thing that happened in that room was the I'm in pain. It was like the most clear, one of the more
I'm in
That was one of
pain.
the more clear spirit box responses we've ever gotten. And also, people at that house who've investigated that house have said they've caught a person talking about being in pain in that house quite often on Spirit Box. So that was cool to catch that response there. We have some Halloween fan costume picks here. This first one comes from, I think that's an I or an L.
I think that's an L. It's probably Lauren. I'm
Yeah,
guessing
Lauren
all
Dawson.
vowels
That's
removed.
probably it. She is obviously dressed as the Mothman. Love to see it. The red glasses is very good. Nice touch.
Great work there. Next one is from Wizard of Ozzy. It ain't Halloween without the Ghoul Boys. Thank you so much to Lily R999 for being the ride of my Shane. Happy Halloween. Those are good.
It's pretty good. I got my North Face jacket on because we often shoot these in really cold weather. And then Shane has his classic history professor look of the collar outside of the sweater, like he's about to give a dissertation. Yeah. It's fun. Let's move on to live.greer on Instagram as well. Is this the Supernatural poster from 2 seasons ago, I feel like?
I think so. We had the Hardy Boys recreation.
That's right, for the lighthouse.
That was a fun one. They nailed it.
They did nail it, actually. That's good. Well shopped.
It's really good shop work, yeah. And nicely photographed, too.
It's just all around well
lighting.
done. Just well done.
Really well
and then
done.
Our last one here, we have Liz Drana. I mean, this is just a classic look here.
Happy Halloween from the Ghoul Boys.
They got your jacket that you often wear. The green.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
pretty
good.
close. Yeah, it's pretty close. Everybody knows Ryan walks
That's
around with
true.
that folder wherever he goes.
It's full of glossy prints of my headshot that I then have pre-autographed. And and I hand them out.
If you ever see him in public, you'll see him. He's got that. That's how you recognize him.
Yeah,
but if you ever see Ryan in public, make sure when you go up to him, first thing you tell him, you're not a ghost. You got to tell him.
That's true.
that.
Otherwise, I will freak out.
He gets scared of
and
everybody.
you won't get a glossy print if you act that way. You could often see me handing these out at like, local farmers markets and things like that. People usually throw them in the trash. But you get the reps in.
Ryan, I'm actually curious, and I know I'm usually supposed to ask you a question here, but I actually have a question. What is coming up this week on BuzzFeed Unsolved Supernatural, the final season?
What a completely unique and surprising question. Oh man, this next place is a great episode. We got a lot of stuff here. I would say perhaps some of the best evidence we've ever caught. So stay tuned for that in the episode. But it's our first, I would say, true haunted mansion. Like, it looks like the haunted mansion.
This episode also interesting because we may have some of the most significant guests, ghost guests we could possibly have. Some heavy hitters. Some fucking A-listers.
Yes, so we do have a couple A-list ghost hosts. That does it for this episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved Postmortem. Make sure you watch the episode this Friday and send in your questions to the BuzzFeed Unsolved Instagram page, the BuzzFeed Unsolved Facebook page, or comment directly on the video on Bun, and maybe you'll be in the next episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved Postmortem.
Well, Ryan, I look forward to seeing you back here in the office next week. Me and Holly are having a great time here.
Yeah, Holly Horsley. It's been a long time. Where are you, Holly Horsley? And free range grass.
Holly, if you're out there,
since we've seen you too.
And free range. Yeah, keep this in the episode. Holly, free range. It's the final season. Get at us. We'll feature you next week if you chime off.
We gotta get the band back together.
All right.
We gotta.
See
you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.